Good morning and welcome to Because Growth Matters, the podcast for sales professionals, business leaders, and growth-driven teams. I'm your host, Daniel Robus, and we are here to rethink how we lead, coach, and grow in today's fast-changing sales landscape. George, you're the founder and CEO of Membrain CRM, a platform that we actually use, and it's because it's there to help complex B2B sales teams improve win rates, shorten sales cycles, and drive consistency when it comes to growth. You've got a long career of entrepreneurship, sales, marketing. You're a respected thought leader. You're an author. You love technology, but human behavior and how it intersects seems to be where your passion is. You constantly challenge conventional thinking, trying to simplify the complex and enable sales teams to achieve more than they thought possible. I'd like to explore why so many CRM implementations have a bad rap and why they're failing sales teams. You also mentioned managing data is so passé, it's so last year. We now need to manage behaviors, and that can transform results. And then get a look at your eagle eye into the future. What's hype, what's real, and what you need to be ready for. So let's dive in there. You run a global organization, and Membrain is a global organization. What's on your whiteboard right now that wasn't there 2 years ago?
Yeah, the obvious answer is AI, or large language models, to be more specific. That's the hot topic in tech right now, as everybody knows. People are jumping on this bandwagon, and it's a huge hype. So we've been, of course, looking into how this could be used in a good way. Because as with any technology, you could use it in good and bad ways. And I think people are unfortunately selling again, like we've seen in the past, like marketing automation and outbound sequencing. There's a tendency for us humans to seek shortcuts. We quickly jump to automation, and now we call automation in the new AI world, we call it agents. So we will have new agents for everything that does the work of humans, and we can fire all the humans and just have agents doing the work. That's kind of the hype cycle right now. The technology is fascinating, and there is a bunch of very cool stuff we'll be doing with it. I mean, apart from that, what's on the whiteboard is always partners. I mean, we are a partner-first company, and when we say that, we mean people involved with designing sales strategies, designing processes, and training methodologies and frameworks, and getting people to change behaviors, basically, and how we can intertwine that with a system like Membrain to sort of make those new habits stick. That's been our, approach even since the start, but it's been kind of slow moving, to be quite frank. It's a lot of trainers in this field of sales have been slow to embrace technology. They've seen CRM, and CRM is one of those words, like everybody has a feeling about CRM. I mean, I certainly do as well, but most just see it as, a big brother thing. Like, I have to log stuff in this tool so that people can pull reports and bash me on the head if I haven't done enough. That's sort of the general feeling among very many salespeople, I think. And sales managers get a bit lost, I think, as well in these dashboards, and they're looking at the wrong things and stuff. For me, I want to drive behaviors, as you sort of referred to in the beginning. How do we make humans get the most out of themselves to help their clients and help their clients get the most out of themselves and their companies? That's what drives me. And I want the technology and the work of the partners to be a unison and holistic approach. And that's proven to be quite difficult because everybody's making a living and doing their thing, and expanding on that by embracing technology is, of course, a big change for a lot of our partners. So that's always something that we work on. How can we make it more natural for a partner to embrace Membrain and their clients to embrace Membrain, to get better at what they're doing?
You said here that trainers are slow to embrace technology and partners are finding it quite difficult. What's one step forward that you would suggest that just takes you a little bit deeper, a level deeper?
I think it is the mind shift of, you were also mentioning data versus behaviors. I would sort of not say that data is passe, or data is yesterday's news. Data is super important, and especially in the age of AI, data is very, very important. But it's just there, right? We've got the data, but it's not always the right data, and we don't know what to do with the data, and we're not using it to help people get better. And I think that's the issue. Let me get back to your question there. What can we do to help the partner see that technology is a good way forward? I think it's that, connecting it to, it's not just about placing technology in front of people to get, data from them, but it's a way for us to boost whatever we are doing. Like, we are designing strategies, we're implementing frameworks, we're training people, we're coaching people. How can we sort of maximize that investment using technology? So it's a kind of a shift in perspective. And a CRM, I guess, has always been one of these categories that we've shied away. In the beginning, we didn't even say that Membrain had anything to do with CRM. I think we called it an active pipeline product in the early days, and then we were a sales excellence platform. So we've been, trying to find our way in this space. But in the end, I mean, people are using CRM, or people think they're using CRM to improve sales. They aren't really doing that, because they were not designed to improve people, and they got this bad reputation, as you mentioned. I tend to sort of look at it that the CRM is the data, so it's kind of the database. That's how, at least I feel, that the perspective of CRM systems were designed from the beginning. And then on top of the data, that's where you need the frameworks, the processes, the embedded training, the KPIs, the goals, all that good stuff that can help us sits on top of the database. And then as the sort of outer layer of that onion, so to speak, you have the user interface. How does it feel to interact with the system? Because that's a very important thing when it comes to software that I think a lot of companies don't take seriously enough. Like, the system needs to be beautiful. It needs to be easy. It needs to feel like a companion, and not just, something that is busy work. So all of those things need to come together in a nice way.
I really like that. Help people get better. We've got to improve people. The systems need to be beautiful. I really like those. Those are mic drop moments. If you had to rewind 5 years, what would you do differently working on Membrain from an organizational perspective?
The thing that we humans have that makes us human, I think, is the ability to think about our thoughts. So the metacognition, basically. We can think about how we think. We can think about why we've created systems or games or whatever we've created, and change things. And we can sort of zoom in on stuff. A good salesperson is really good at zooming in and zooming out. Okay, we're looking at this problem, but what is this problem a part of? What is it affecting? What systems are we talking about? Is it affecting marketing, sales, CS and product? And what are we talking about here? So you can zoom out and you can zoom in. If you're a good salesperson, you can do that automatically, and also have the business acumen to understand their business and all that good stuff. But I think a lot of times people just get stuck in details. They've zoomed in on a specific problem, and they're just looking at that specific problem, and sometimes they zoom in even further to go deeper into that specific problem without sort of taking a step back and seeing the whole picture. And we've done that in Membrain, I feel, quite well on the opportunity or sales, we call it sales projects side of things, where we visualize information in a way that makes it easier to see that whole picture. So you've been using the system, so you have these 3 boxes, you have the people in the middle, you have the sort of facts on the left, and you have the open-ended why stuff on the right. So that's an attempt to sort of visualize a bigger picture and structure information in a way that makes it easier for a human to understand what's going on. And you have the process up top, like, what are we doing? What have we done? What have we not done? Which milestones have we met and not? And embedding and training and all that. So I think we've done a really good job with that. However, maybe we have assumed that people will understand it, and we've not made maybe as good of a job with other sort of jobs to be done within sales outside of this. But I think with our limited resources, I can't really come up with something that we should have done differently. As you may know, we are a bootstrapped company, so we have no venture capital, we have no external money. We're growing one customer, one partner at a time. So that sort of limits how fast we can do things. I would want to do things faster, of course, but I also don't want to lose control of the company, which I feel we would if we would bring in venture capital. It's a balancing act.
I really enjoy how many times you spoke about think. And we've got a saying at Growth Matters, thinking is not cheating. And slowing down to think, think, plan, do, and review. So few people give themselves the gift of reviewing where they are and just stopping, letting the noise go by and saying, where did we come from? Wow, what did we do? What should we have done differently? I think you've expressed that even if you don't use TPDR, maybe you'll use it from here. I was going to ask you why CRM systems fail sales teams, but first I want to ask you your t-shirt that I love and I don't have one. How you sell matters. Tell me about how you sell matters. What does that mean to Mr. George?
The quick founding story of Membrain is that I had another company that I founded where I hired salespeople and I fired salespeople. So a lot of hiring, firing going on before I realized that, holy crap, the only common denominator here is me. It's like, okay, shit,
okay. There's a moment
was a hard
there.
time.
Yeah.
That was an insight moment. Like, okay. So then I had to start thinking about, okay, so I could sell the products. We sold it was a pretty complex product, or very, I would say, complex product, because it automated a lot of IT management tasks. So we were in that space of IT. So we were selling to value-added resellers. They were running around this is like, what, 20 years ago, 15, 20 years ago? They were running around like crazy, putting out fires, billing, for hours. And we found this tool that a software so they could sort of automate a lot of their work. And then they had to shift the way they were billing for the work. So instead of billing for stuff they fixed, they could say, hey, Mr. Customer, we will charge you X per employee per month, kind of a recurring service, and we'll make sure that everything works. So your email is not going to go down. It's all going to work. And if it doesn't work, it's on us to fix it, and it's not going to cost you any more. So basically, what I didn't realize at the time was that we weren't selling a product. We were basically transforming their entire operations. They had to market differently. They had to sort of sell differently. I mean, the value props were completely different. So it was a transformation of all departments and all the processes basically within the company. But I didn't see that at the time because I thought I was selling a product. And that's what the salespeople I hired didn't see either. So then I had to sort of sit down and say, okay, apparently I was successful selling it, but these people that I hired with good CVs and I used good recruiters and everything, it just didn't work. And that's where I came to the conclusion, like, oh, it's all about the how. How I am doing things is quite different from how they're doing things. And I was sort of adapting, maybe it's an entrepreneurial thing, like, when I was getting pushback, I was just adapting to what the customer said and getting to that understanding of why they would need this solution. Whereas these other salespeople, they were sort of stuck in the product, and which was also on me, right? When I educated them, I trained them too much on, the products and the benefits of the product, because I had all the business acumen in the back of my head, but they didn't really have that. And I didn't see that at the time. So the how, I just realized that, okay, it's all about the how. And how do I now find the delta between what they are doing and what I'm doing? So I did a lot of, joint visits and all that good stuff. And I figured that, oh, right, it's just the main problem they're doing is that they're not engaging all the stakeholders. After a time, they were doing a pretty good job in sort of convincing the leaders of the company that this was a good thing. But what they did not do and what they hated was to talk to the tech people, because they were weird. Like, they didn't even want to talk. So they kind of shied away from that. And then I had to coach them and say, well, it's all about what you have to understand their situation. You are coming in here telling the leadership that you're going to automate their business and they're going to, make a lot more profits and all that good stuff. And these guys think they're going to be out of a job, because you're saying you're going to automate what they're doing. So you just have to shift your storytelling to them and talk about pizza. And they're like, oh, what do you mean pizza? Like, yeah, because they're sitting, every once in a while they have to sit and patch all their customers' servers. And they usually do that, once a month, maybe on a Thursday evening or a Saturday evening, some uncomfortable time where they would rather be at home with the family or watch a game or something. And they have to do this boring work, and then they order in a pizza. So wouldn't they rather, get rid of that pizza and be somewhere else? That's what you can offer them. You can automate that boring work so they can do the fun work that they want to do, the projects and all the cool stuff. And so when they started telling that story, they, of course, started winning deals because now they got everyone involved that needed to be on board. So that's sort of the how. For me, you have to understand the entire system that you're engaging with. In that case, it was a company of an IT company where they have the engineers and they had the marketing and the sales and all that good stuff. But they were failing because they weren't getting everyone to see the brighter future. There was fear there among the engineers that they were going to lose their jobs, basically. So I think that's what I mean with how, like, you have to identify how the customer, it's in many layers, right? You have to understand how the customer works. You have to understand the relationship between those departments and between the people and with the work they do. And you have to understand the relationship they have with their customers. It's all systems, right? How do these systems connect and how can you see that? And then you have to apply this how in your sales process. When you know this, you can never sell to a customer without that kind of customer, without engaging all the actually in any type of sale, that's the case. But in this case, it was the sort of the bottleneck were the technical engineers.
There was so many good points in there, and you spoke about an entrepreneur that can do both roles. So you understand your product that you've taken, but you also understand the sales process. But there's also this point of, I've met someone that's interested and I just want to sell to them. You saying we need to cast our net wider and we need to touch many stakeholders. Do you think that's a common problem that companies that are scaling have? They have this myopic view. He's interested, I'm just going to sell, or she's interested, I'm just going to sell to her, and we forget the other stakeholders? Or do you think that this is a unique to IT problem? And how do we break it at scale?
Yeah, no, 100%. I think it's the number one problem in complex sales. I'm using the word complex sales online and all the time, but I kind of dislike the word complex in a way because it kind of gives people an excuse to say, oh, it's complex. Oh, okay, that's complex. I don't want it to be complex. So I'm going to try to simplify it. It's not going to work, right? It's just how nature works. So yes, it's always like that in a sale, that you have to understand the system you're selling into, because you're selling some kind of change. Basically, it's change management. You want to improve something that will change how they do things. If it's a product or a service, doesn't really matter. You're going to change how they work, how they do things, and that's going to affect certain systems that they have in place. And it's funny because you could talk to a customer and you can see all the problems they have. I mean, it's a complete mess. They're doing things wrong. And it's like, oh no, how can you even work in this company? If you think about it, they do work there and it is working in a way. It's their system. It's not working optimally. And you could do a lot of improvements to it. But people have grown accustomed to how it's working, and that's their system. Because people hate change. We don't really like change, most people. We at least not the uncertainty and risk that comes with change. But that's why I think selling is also a lot about just risk mitigation and understanding. If we change the system to the better, how would that make your life worse? It's like, oh, actually, I see myself having to work a lot more for the next, 3 months if we do this thing. And I have this thing at home. It's going to be kind of tricky for me to, even though I get it, everything is going to get better at work and stuff. But for me, it's going to be a lot of work. So, I mean, it's working. I get it. So you really have to understand everything in that. It's very intricate, but I think that's the number one problem in complex sales. You don't understand the system, hence you don't engage the right people, hence you don't get the deal.
What kills deals? Didn't you just write a book about that?
Yeah, I did.
Tell us the title and where can we get it?
Stop killing deals. Yeah, you get it everywhere. You get books. You know, the main pushback or feedback I got after I put the book out there was, I don't want to read. I want to get the audiobook. So it's also available on Audible
Did you
as an
read it
audiobook.
yourself with that wonderful
I did
accent?
actually.
Ah,
I
amazing.
did.
Okay. You got everybody
Yeah.
lining. We just want to listen to the accent. That's, yeah, that'll be
And that
cool.
was quite some work, I must say. I made a lot of assumptions when I hired these salespeople that I later fired. That I kind of thought that salespeople are born. I kind of thought that salespeople that have been in the profession are disciplined. And I assumed that CRM systems were designed to help people get better at selling, or companies to get better at selling. And I found that all of those assumptions were just wrong.
It's like, oh, missed that one. We're not born. You got to be we got to invest in them. Oh, we're not disciplined. Everyone's going to go home early if they can. Oh, CRM systems, you actually have to configure them to work for you. Okay, so you tick those three off. What do we do about it though?
No, I think that's the first thing. That's kind of I guess, an example of metacognition, like thinking about our own thinking. I was thinking that, okay, my thinking about these things were wrong. And I think that happens to salespeople. We make assumptions about our potential customers and our customers all the time. Like when they say something, oh, we really struggle with win rates at this company. A salesperson selling Membrain might think, oh, they just said they want to buy Membrain. It's like, no, they did not. They said they're struggling with win rates. They didn't say, oh, I'm gonna buy Membrain to fix it. They're not there yet. So we make a lot of assumptions. So I think that was the key point in my book. It's really about, understanding that assumptions are dangerous. And one of the advice that I give salespeople is, when you take notes, if you're on a customer call and you take notes, write what they said, not what you heard them say. If someone said our win rates are low, write our win rates are low, not what you think that means. We need to fix win rates.
Please, can we say that again? Can I repeat that back to you? Write what they said, not what you heard. That is so powerful. So don't put our interpretation on it. Take it verbatim for what they've said, because then we can dig deeper into it. Or where do we go to with that?
Yes, because they are sharing their perspective. And when you start, putting your perspective on top of their perspective, then you're skewing reality. That's not reality anymore. We talked a little bit about AI. AI is actually quite helpful, because you could train it to summarize calls, and you could hopefully get it to not, lie to you. So we have to be careful about what is reality and what is, our interpretation of reality, or even an agent's interpretation of reality. And that's where the thinking about thinking comes in, which I find is very important. And that's what I want Membrain also to do, is to help people think. The reason we don't think, and you probably read the Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman, where he talks about system 1 and system 2, that we have these automated thinking going on, where we want to put our clothes on, we don't think about how to do that. It's just automatic. So most of the stuff we do, it's automatic. But when we have a bigger problem to solve, we have to connect to system 2. We have to think. And thinking is hard work. I mean, energy-wise, it takes a lot of energy to think. There's now work done by researchers on what thinking actually is, how we think, that when we can learn how we think, we can get better at it. So we can use less energy, and we can also use technology. And this is what I want Membrain to be able to do, is to give you information, present information in a way that makes it easier for you to think. Because thinking, according to research, is about how we organize information, which is also, I think, a very interesting definition, because you could give two people the same information, but they can draw very different conclusions from that very same information, right? So it's all about how we organize that information, and that is based on, our worldview, our perspective on things, and how we were raised, and what we believe in, and all these kinds of things, right? I've studied a lot of NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, and they talk a lot about, language and words. Like how we use words also tells the world a little bit about our thinking. So as a salesperson, it's really interesting to listen to which words a person is saying, because based on the words that come out of their mouth, you can actually reverse engineer how they think, which is really cool. It's almost like a Jedi power if you get that right.
I'm scared to ask the next question. You're going to know how I think. It's like, oh, damn, you know exactly what's going on. But that's a brilliant segue into why CRM got such a bad name, because it's failing sales teams. Is it because we haven't thought it through enough? Do you think we accept what comes out of the box and we try and impose that on the team? What are the common reasons why sales teams become frustrated and made you build a company on this?
Yeah, I think those who designed CRMs and what has become sort of the category, they held the same faulty assumptions that I held, which is that salespeople know what to do with, they ought to know what to do with whom, when, and why, and they should just log what they've done. And then if they've not done enough, we'll bash them on the head. It's a system basically to record information of what you're doing. It was never initially designed to help you become better at what you do or help you execute your strategy. It was about storing information about customers in a system. It's basically a digital Rolodex. That was the CRM in the beginning. We need to store all the information about our customers in a database so that we can access it, which is, I mean, great, right? You need that. But they were never initially designed to help us sell better or help us coach better or help us take a strategy and make it executable or help us think better. Those things were never reasons why they designed these initial CRM systems. And then we humans categorize things. And this is why I'm struggling with CRM as a category, because we group things into a box and we call it a category. And CRM has become a category. And then when the developers of CRM, they add stuff to the box, and then the box grows. So in the beginning, it was just the Rolodex, and then it expanded to do a lot more things. And it's all marketing now. It's also customer supports. It's all customer facing, everything customer facing. It's really hard today to say, what's a CRM? It's like, say, what's a car? I mean, there are very different cars out there. I want a sports car. I want a cab. It's very different from a bus. You have to know what you need.
You need to know what you need. If you had to take a bunch of sales leaders or a bunch of execs who have got misfiring sales teams and they're never going to work with you, if you had to give them a practical step to improve adoption of this technology, what would it be?
Yeah, if I may challenge that a bit, I think adoption is a word that I struggle with, because adoption is not a problem if the system or the tool and technology is needed for you to do your job. If you want to put something up on the wall, you need a hammer. You wouldn't say, I don't want to use this hammer. I hate hammers. You need the tool to do the job. And I think that's what's sort of been missing in CRM or just sales tools in general, that I need this tool to be better at my job. I need this tool to help my customers. It's more like someone else needs this tool to know what I'm doing. That's sort of, I think, the general feeling about these CRM systems that have perpetuated over time. Things are changing. I mean, over the last 10 years, tools and technology has come out that actually do help sellers do a better job. Like call recordings is one of those things. It's really comfortable, saves a lot of time. We just have to change that to see, okay, what do we need to execute our strategy or to execute our mission, to help more customers? How do we prevent making stupid mistakes? I think like this example with the stakeholders, it's such a, I mean, it's 101, right? Everybody in sales knows this. Yet I would say, I don't want to put a number out there, but it's so common that we skip over this stakeholder identification and alignment and understanding because we have this great relationship with this sales leader or whoever is, our main contact. And I know them so well, they might even be my cousin's best friend, but it's not going to work. And we know that. And it's not okay to not identify and work with all the stakeholders and understand the system you're selling into. It's not okay. Yet we allow it to happen all the time. That is just stupid. So you have to ask yourself, it's not about adoption. It's about being better at what we do. It's a craft. We should be proud about our craft or profession or whatever we want to call it. And we want to get better at it. It's like being if you want to jump high and say, well, today I don't feel like measuring how high I jump, or I don't really care about training. I'm going to do like 3 months without training, but I'm going to win the world championship. No, you're not. It's like we have to get clear on what we want to do, where we want to be.
I just want to confess, I have an email on the screen next to me that I'm about to say, where I've been asked about how emails in to meet new stakeholders at a customer, and my honest response is, we work with the global enablement team. We don't do that. No, I'm dying here. All you're saying, I'm dying. I'm guilty of this. So thank you. I needed that shake up. And that behavior that I've just spoken about, you talk about managers managing data to managing behaviors, and they can transform organizations. What does that mean?
I mean, human beings, I think most of us, if not all, want to grow. We want to get better. We want to make our life better for us and the ones we love. And we need to tap into that. I think it's not really more difficult than that. Like if you have people on your team, like what drives them? What are they curious about? How do they feel about their work? What's in their way? It's just that coaching mentality that you have to have as a manager. And that's a leadership issue. And I know you guys talk a lot about this, and I love your work on all of this when it comes to, leveraging the frontline sales managers. I mean, that's the number one leverage point in companies, because they're the ones that are making sure that their salespeople grow and do a better job day to day. But sometimes another classic mistake is upgrading or promoting your best salesperson to a sales manager without knowing if that person would actually function in that role, because it's such a different role. Now you have to sell through people, not sell yourself and be the hero. And sometimes if the driving force you have as a human is to be that win those deals and be on the top of the podium and just grow as a salesperson, and that's what gets you fired up. And all of a sudden now you have to make others do that. And if you haven't done that mind shift, it's not going to happen, right? So this is such a common mistake companies do. They don't invest enough in their frontline sales managers, and they don't promote necessarily the right people to become frontline sales managers. But when you have someone who really gets a kick of seeing their people perform and grow and get better deal by deal, customer by customer, meeting by meeting, day by day, that's when you can start moving mountains, right? That's when things shift. That's when things happen. And Membrain we've even developed a specific coaching platform where we help managers do this. Even if you're not using Membrain as your complete CRM, we want you to be able to use the coaching platform. So I think coaching it's everything.
Coaching is everything. I couldn't agree with you more. What is the right balance between tracking the metrics, the auditing side, the management side, and coaching actions?
I think they intertwine. Like you have to be careful though that you have the KPIs you set up, right? It's like Jason Jordan's and Michelle Vasana's book, Cracking the Sales Management Code. You have to understand your KPIs. So leading and lagging indicators. If you only stare at the sort of lagging indicators, it's not going to be helpful. It's like, oh, your win rate is only 25, up your win rate. It's like, that's not coaching. I mean, that's not helpful. You need the data, you need the KPIs, but you need more. I think too many are just staring blindly at top line, just revenue or contract signed. You have to go a bit deeper. So about zooming in and zooming out, you have to also see, okay, what actions, what milestones lead to a successful outcome in a sales project. So if we know that identifying stakeholders is super critical, then that needs to be a milestone in the sales process. And that's what we should be tracking, because that's a leading indicator towards winning more and increasing your win rates. So you need to have the right KPIs in place. And then you could definitely have coaching sessions around KPIs. You just have to have the right KPIs.
You just have to have the right KPIs. I enjoy that a lot. We were talking last night. I was giving a class and talking about shouting at the scoreboard. I don't know if you're into sport, but it doesn't help shouting at the scoreboard. We have to manage what the players are doing on the field.
Yeah, a lot of people are doing that. Yeah, that's not helpful.
Have you seen any big transformations in customers where they've embraced this, through your Membrain journey and putting KPIs in place and taken that transformation that stand out for you?
Yes, especially when we work in lockstep with a partner who's doing the training and maybe also helping out with the strategy and the mission description and making all this connect. Definitely seeing major shifts. I think sometimes people have unreasonable expectations on technology. In a complex sales world, it's many different behaviors that we want to tweak that over time will create massive improvements. So if you create, just a small improvement in win rates and deal sizes and sales cycles and the number of deals that enter the pipeline, the sum of that effect is going to be massive.
So it's little consistent stacking of habits makes massive impact.
The micro makes the macro.
The macro. Oh, you see another mic drop moment. George, you're born for this, man. That's awesome.
Stolen, though. That's stolen from Professor Derek Cabrera.
Okay, we'll give the professor credit for that. Let's talk about the future, George. What's hype? What's real? What do you need to be ready for as a C-level investing in this technology? What's overhyped right now and why?
Yeah, that's easy to answer.
Not AI, surely not AI. Come on.
Yeah, no, for sure AI. I mean, anybody who's on LinkedIn must be pretty fed up with these posts about, I booked 100 meetings last month. We all want shortcuts. I mean, that's how we humans work, right? But rarely are there any good shortcuts. If you are in the complex B2B sales environment, it's about your people, from my perspective, and how to empower and augment those people with technology and making the technology something that they like. Like if you have an electrician or plumber, they have their toolbox and they're not going to go to a job without the toolbox. And every tool in that toolbox is relevant at some point in time for them. I think that's how we need to see it. We have to give our people the best possible tools to become the best possible professionals. And AI will help with that. AI will augment them so that they don't have... It's like the other story I told about the engineers that got scared when we sold automation software to their company. But actually their lives got a lot better because they didn't have to do all the boring stuff. I think what AI is going to do for us in sales is similar. Now I don't have to spend 3 hours researching a company because AI can do that for me because it's great at summarizing and collecting data. But then I have to make sense of the information as a human. And that's the sense-making piece where I think we differentiate as humans because computers are not smart yet. I'm not as optimistic as many of these computer scientists that just throwing more computing power on this will create this intelligence that we think of when we think of humans. Because humans just have something in our conscious mind that is not just about counting and computing. It's deeper than that, I think. And I'm giving you a lot of my perspectives here, of course. But so augmentation is a good word to remember, not automation necessarily.
I like that, augmentation. How do sales leaders evaluate new tools without being distracted from the fundamentals and kill their deals by taking the eye off the ball? Give me 3 tips on evaluating new tools from a sales perspective.
I think you mentioned about the fundamentals. I think that should be their perspective. How do we evaluate tools that help us master the fundamentals? I think that might actually be the perspective you should take instead of just running after, the shiny objects, which now, from my perspective, are all these AI agents that promises to book 100 meetings with your best customers by just, inputting some prompts to it. It's also just understanding in which space you are in, because this is very, from my perspective, also very similar to when marketing automation became very hyped. inbound marketing. And HubSpot was, the sort of leader in this space. And everybody thought, oh, wow, we don't need salespeople anymore. We could just put a blog out and we put content online and people will just come knocking down our door and buy our stuff. Hallelujah. It was fantastic, right? But of course, that didn't work. And then everybody has content online. It's a complete inflation. And now with AI, it's just a nightmare. But that was kind of the promise, right? Automation will solve your day. And now it's AI agents will solve your day and automate all the hard work. We should play with that. And automation has a role. But if you're in a company and you're selling to sort of a finite number of customers, you can't afford to burn bridges. You can't afford to send out stupid automated emails to people, which piss people off, quite frankly. I get these all the time. And it just makes me feel that this is not a serious company doing that. So you have to be careful. But if you have, a new widget you developed, nobody in the world knows about it, and everybody needs it, and it's a simple sale, go for it. Go for agents all day long. Maybe that you can reach, millions of people quickly and sell some stuff. So you have to just know, what kind of sales motion do I have? And how does my sales process work? And is it realistic to automate it? Maybe you can automate parts of it. When something sounds too good to be true, it usually is a bit too good to be true.
I've got 3 more questions for you. One is an outward question. A mid-level sales manager who wants to give their career a boost, what would George say?
They have to get their team to perform better, right? So, and in order to get their team to perform better, I think they need to go down to the fundamentals. Are we doing the fundamentals correctly every day? And if not, how do we do that? So I would get back to, and that, from my perspective, again, it's the stakeholders in a complex sale. Are you engaging the right stakeholders? Do you understand the system you're selling into? So I would also read up on systems thinking to understand, the interconnectedness of systems and people within those systems. I would recommend reading that. So go outside of sales and study also psychology, human behavior, behavioral economics. It's about understanding people. I think that's what a good salesperson does. And systems. You have to understand how the customer's business works. How do they make money? How do they stay competitive? All that stuff you need to know, of course. And sometimes we might take that for granted, but that's also develop that skill and how you financial skills. Selling is so broad. That's why I think selling is such a fascinating job.
My second last question, if you were interviewing you, what would you have asked yourself?
What do you want to change over the coming 5 to 10 years?
George, what do you want to change in the next 2 to 3 years?
I want to change how people think of sales, complex B2B sales, and realize that thinking is underestimated, and help them think better.
There's a whole new podcast there. I'm not even going to dive into that. You bring that at the last moment. That's a big answer. Thank you, George. What is the one thing, the 1% that you work on with Membrain and the Membrain team that makes the biggest difference to your culture or your performance? What is the non-negotiable that differentiates you guys?
I would say it's the combination of always growing and full of heart. Those are 2 of our core values. We want to always keep learning, always keep growing, but we also want to be full of heart, meaning that we see us as humans and not, employees or cogs or performers, even though we are performers at times, but we need to have our heart in the play as well.
George, that's a very deep way to end today. And I know as you go and you grow and you achieve massive things with Membrain, I'm going to hold you accountable to sticking to that and not selling out to the dollar signs. So I want to thank you. Thank you for your humility and thank you for being here. Thank you for giving us an hour. I hope what you have shared with us can translate into something for someone that they can change their world, hit their numbers, grow their team, and just be more successful because of what you've shared, and I'm sure they will. So from us at Because Growth Matters, thank you, George.
Thanks for having me.
Season 1 of Because Growth Matters has been incredible. We've learned that sales is not the same as sales management, hunting isn't the same as account management, and that people need discipline, not just motivation. The winners, those who execute with focus and consistency, leadership and management together. A huge thank you to our amazing guests and listeners. Season 2 will be even better, with new voices, new locations, and some exciting Growth Matters initiatives. Stay tuned, because growth matters, and so do you. I'm Daniel Robus. I will see you next season.